this life was all I ever wanted.
I'm not leaving. Not yet.
I was hoping you'd say that.
We gotta hit the streets, make some money.
People like us must destroy people like him. Buckle up.
Get Showtime free at Showtime.com.
Jesus, I got to tell you, this is one of the most, what an amazing fight. To me, a fight of the year contender easily. So Josh Emmett in your co-main event at 145 pounds. He eventually stops Shane Burgos. I think it was the third round. Wow, dude, what an unbelievable performance, BC. I was so blown away. So the question is now after he wins, where does Burgos fit into the title picture? Or so the picture at 145. So if you look at the rankings, BC, he was at 8 or 9.
You mean Emmett? You mean Emmett?
Emmett. Sorry, what did I say? I said somebody else? Sorry.
You
Josh
said
Emmett.
Burgos. It's fine. Yeah.
Sorry, I apologize. Josh Emmett. If you look at the rankings, again, prior to the fight, Emmett was sitting at around 8 or 9. Which is probably fair given what he had accomplished and everything else. But I just think there's some realities about Josh Emmett that people need to wake up to. I think what he'll get out of the win is somewhere in or just outside top 5. It depends how a couple other things shake out, which means he's at worst maybe 2 more wins away from a title shot, maybe even 1. But the reality about Josh Emmett that folks really need to wake up to is he is a little bit older than some of the other sort of talents out there at 145 pounds. But with that has come a lot of wisdom. His game has transformed over the years because he always had good wrestling, which folks forget about. And he always had pretty decent movement, great cardio. He can go the distance. And he had that setback against Jeremy Stevens. But folks forget he was winning that Jeremy Stevens fight before a controversial knee and then everything else that happened afterwards. Beyond that, he is a Mack truck of a power puncher. He has a modern game. He doesn't rattle the media cage, BC. But Josh Emmett is easily perhaps, no, I'm just going to say it. He's the most underrated guy at 145 pounds. Just matter of factly.
He did come after the media a bit in his post-fight interview, which I give him the grounds to do it because he felt he was counted out so much. Look, like to echo what you said, absolutely badass fight. And why I loved it even more than your average sort of brawl where you're like, fight of the year contender, is that it really wasn't a brawl. It was a technical masterpiece. It just so happened that they loaded up with savage intent on every single punch and really both poured out the jug. You know, this was a championship level opportunity for each of them to go from the contenders to the elite title contenders. And man, did both bite down and go for it. You got to give Burgos all the credit, even if Dana White butchered his name and called him Bertos for the entire post-fight press conference. Emmett kind of is a featherweight Shane Carwin, like more skilled, but he's got that intimidating vibe and can load up and land the big power shots. He also might have the best tats in UFC. And Luke, that's saying something. There's a lot of really bad tats in UFC. I'd take that package of tats if I wasn't fear of needles, maybe over anyone else. But look, about the full, well-rounded game. Yeah, it's his time. It's his time. It's a little bit, I want to say disappointing, but it's not. That the featherweight division is suddenly so friggin' loaded. You're not only going to get Max Volkanovski too, but it's like, what do we do with Ortega, Zabit, Korean Zombie? I mean, on and on. There's Yair Rodriguez. There's a few other killers in there. He certainly enters that group with this win. I'd agree with you that it's probably a win or two more before he would get that title shot. But this is where I stop and say, guys are just wired differently, right? To have the damage that he took to his left knee in the first round, the first minute of that fight, and look, I didn't see afterwards, was it a torn ACL? Was it just something got stretched out? I don't know. But to be able to block that out, still use that leg, be effective the rest of the way, be so mentally tough, stay in his game plan while he was getting lit up at times against a much longer fighter with a very accurate boxing game. This was a hella impressive performance from Josh Emmett. This was a, hey, if you thought of him, you better know him now because he has evolved into something very serious. He's a title threat against anyone, Luke, and he has that bite-down toughness that seems to be just next level from the regular group. Burgos, kind of showed you the same thing in defeat. He's still got, a high ceiling on where he can go too. But yes, I want to kind of get Josh Emmett fast-tracked into a giant fight next to make a statement, because he's ready in every single appearance, Luke, knowing that his window is a little bit smaller than the others, and knowing that he kind of went through hell in the aftermath of that loss to Stevens, that he's going for it. He's going to go for the damn title. And Dana loves that. The fans love it. And I want to see how far he can go with that menacing style, because shout out to his well-roundedness. That's how he got here. But his meal ticket is to walk you down and knock you the hell out. And it's going to be fun to see him against the other elites.
I mean, no one appreciates someone daring to be great more than you, BC, which is exactly what he's doing. And to be honest, sometimes when the fighters call out the media, I'm always like, I just sort of roll my eyes. I did not roll my eyes at this one, because I knew what he was talking about. First of all, disclosure, I get him as right as I get him wrong. I'm 50-50 on all these. But I did think Josh Emmett was going to win. Not that anything against Shane Burgos, but I just sort of have been watching what Josh Emmett is up to. The fact that he has the power punching, the chin, as you saw, even after all the damage he's taken from the Jeremy Stevens, I won't call it debacle, but calamity is sort of in its own right. And then all the other pieces of feinting, in and out movement that he's got. Dude, he's got one of the best games at 145 pounds. And I just thought, man, he's going to be a hard guy to deal with. Plus, you knew from like the Michael Johnson and the Ricardo Lamas fight that dude, I mean, he can thump. Now you see yet more evidence of that. So I always thought he would do it. But here's what I mean about the chip on his shoulder. He was right to note that he's been looked over, because he has, not just by the media, but the media sort of as a proxy for the larger fan base. I don't think a lot of them have woken up to that reality either. So the media and the fans are guilty together in this, I think. And if you can take a chip on your shoulder and convert it into competitive fire, if you can take it and make it useful for you, which is what he appears to be doing, knowing as you indicated, his window is not as big. He's not 25 years old. He's not Sean O'Malley. But he's underrated, and he would like to be recognized. Dude, he is going to make you remember his name. He did the thing. Granted, he had a bit of a dance partner that kind of made it exciting as well, and Shane Burgos. But he did the thing we were talking about Curtis Blades maybe should have done, right? He actually went out and did it. So when he calls out the media for not giving him some love after the things he's been through and after the things he's also accomplished, I don't have any issue with it at all.
Luke, here's what's interesting. I don't know what he made or what both of these guys made for this fight. I just didn't check. Did you happen to check what they were disclosed for pay?
Not yet.
Okay, I'm sure it's underwhelming in a lot of ways. They were the co-main event. Everybody knew coming in that this was going to be the firecracker. This was going to be the fight that would win the weekend. If we can't fix the pay structure outright, and if even if you don't love the idea that you can double your salary with a win and that you can get a bonus, I'd almost think one change, Luke, is make that fight of the night bonus like a lot of money. Like that, I think would be a little change to things that everybody would love, because we know Dana and company and the ghost of Joe Silva, and I'm sure you've probably even got a bad story of him violating your human rights. They want knockouts. They want you to be a savage. So instead of a $50,000 savage bonus to an already pretty low salary for a co-main event opportunity, why don't we just like triple or quadruple that? Because that's what UFC wants in the end. That's what fans want in the end. I know that style isn't for everybody. That's why if you've got a Curtis Blades style, you may just go up the ladder and see if you can win the championship, and that's how you get paid. But for these other guys to see Shane Burgos fight the way he did, and knowing he's only got the show money plus a bonus, I'd like to see him get like a $400,000 bonus, Luke. I'm not the one signing checks, but maybe if we just go all in on that, maybe everyone else can win a little bit more, because there are savages. There are fighters out there like Joanna who will pour out the entire jug at any time. And I think above all, those are the people that deserve the type of payment even more, Luke, in an already broken payment structure.
I would agree. I mean, maybe it does or it doesn't incentivize fighters to fight in that way. But to your point, at least it would reward the ones who did. I like the idea. It's pretty cool. All right, so let's move on now to the weekend, not so much ahead, but the weeks ahead. We'll come to the weekend ahead in just a moment. But first, let's talk Fight Island, BC. So we had a bunch of announcements related to this. There's so many different angles to get to. The place I'd like to start on this is the middleweight fight that was announced, which is one of the headlining fights for one of the Fight Night cards, so the ones subsequently following 251. Darren Till officially back in action against Robert Whittaker. BC, what is on the line for these two?
potentially a rocket ship to the title after we sort out the Adesanya Paulo Costa situation. I mean, it's that big of a fight, and it does echo kind of what we love about the UFC, that Robert Whittaker could lose his championship by knockout. He could go through some very personal sort of hurdles to get back into a situation where he feels comfortable fighting. And oh no, there's no get well fight. There's no, here's a veteran Cowboy Cerrone type to dust you back up. You're going in there against Darren Till. And, with high risk does come high reward. I mean, if Robert Whittaker knocks him out, he's right back at the doorstep of a title opportunity. It is a badass fight in a badass summer of fights. Thank you, UFC, for basically, sorry, I burped right there, for basically putting the quarantine in Americana or going north-south on them and no dental dam, just going for it, right? Just friggin' going for it. Look, we're going to talk about Poirier and friggin' Hooker. These fights are ridiculously good. I love me some Till Whittaker. It's going to be bananas. Till has a chance in that fight to prove to you that he can fulfill all the expectations that UFC had for him from the very beginning, Luke. Sign me up. This is going to be a great summer. All the other sports, they can't figure it out. Sometimes for good reasons, but UFC still, they're bringing the big stick and they're banging, Luke.
Well, I mean, when Dana brags about how they have figured it out and the other sports haven't, yes, but it's sort of like saying, I got my bicycle to work and you haven't figured out how to build a car yet. I mean, one task is difficult, very difficult. The other task is insanely difficult. So they're not equivalent tasks, but okay, fair enough. They've got the machine operating and running in a way that their other combat sports peers certainly couldn't do, and I give them credit for that. As it relates to Till versus Whittaker, BC, I don't know how you could... This fight is amazing. It's really amazing because... we have this situation with Robert Whittaker where he not only lost his last fight, he got stopped, lost his title, he had a bunch of time off due to injuries. Then the fight he was supposed to be in fell through for a lot of different reasons, but we find out later that it was predominantly related to just burnout, basically. And here he is saying he's on the other side of this and he's ready to get back to who he once was. I'm very curious to see what that looks like, because I remember when Adesanya beat Whittaker, I thought he would, not the way he did, but I also said to myself, this cannot and certainly will not be the last time these two face off. So does he get right back on the horse and get another fight? Because you have to imagine, if Dana wants to do a full crowd, which you can probably do in New Zealand, we'll see how things go, you could do a rematch between Adesanya and Whittaker there, provided he gets past Costa. That would be a huge fight down there, and it wouldn't interfere with pay-per-view here in terms of how the timing of the card might work. So that would be huge. On the other side, you talk to English media, they'll tell you Darren Till is the heir to Michael Bisping's throne. And what I mean by that is, who is the fighter coming out of England now that can be what Michael Bisping was, which is... obviously, he won the title, but the most important celebrated MMA fighter of his era, who most media would know or MMA fans would know. Who's the standard bearer for the flag? Darren Till is supposed to be that guy, and he obviously had his stumbles. Now, he rebounded against Kelvin Gastelum, and that was huge. But he's got to build on this. And if he can, dude, look out. The sky is the limit for that. We've talked about it on the show. In boxing, dude, the UK is the king of boxing right now on multiple levels, whether it's the size of the crowds in the arena, whether it's the showmanship, whether it's the number of good athletes, whether it's belts across weight classes. They are the reigning kings of boxing. And if Darren Till can tap into that enthusiasm on the MMA side, I'm telling you, I'm not saying he'll do everything that Michael Bisping did, but he's got an opportunity to build on a place and time where British boxing is maybe as hot as it's ever been. So there's a combat sports fever, and he can be the standard bearer for his era for MMA and really do something very special as a talent and as a box office draw.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Luke. And I did do a little bit, yay, the UFC right there, because I mean it from the standpoint of how loaded this summer is, and DC Stipe, 3, a big part of that. But we do have to talk about, look, we call it like it is. We praise you. We'll tear you down too. Did you see that Fight Island promo they ran over the weekend?
It was weird.
It kind of looked like one day Dana White's probably going to run for president or governor of Nevada or something. It kind of looked like a rally video to gain momentum. I think people rightfully had issues with this. The first 45 seconds to a minute of the video is about how everyone ain't doing anything and all the things were stacked against Dana, but he carried the flag up the hill. And again, in some ways he did, but that was an old battle. That was the 3 month ago battle. Can we put this back on the road? You won that. All right, that already happened. Remember Jacksonville? Tai Chi Palace, we already there. Now we're sort of keeping that narrative alive for Fight Island, and we're actually showing fighters standing on the edge of an island looking out at the water. I'm sorry, Fight Island ain't a real island. We've already been through this. It's going to be in an arena. Dana made fun of us for believing. Dana, you all right? We thought that by listening to you. This is your fault. But I do agree that if you're of the belief that UFC has worked too hard for its own advantageous reasons to keep Dana and the UFC brand as the face of the whole promotion rather than individual fighters, although obviously there's been times where McGregor or Rousey or whomever has catapulted above the marquee. This is a great example of that, right? That's how they keep the fighters down and stiff-armed and keep them in line, because Dana is always the draw. And watch that video. The draw ain't Gilbert Burns versus Kamaru Usman, I'll tell you that much. The draw is that maverick, Dana White, for better or worse.
Yeah, it's funny. It was so weird. It's because if you look at the slate of fights, we mentioned Till versus Whitaker, which is just a great fight. But if you look at these cards, man, up and down, there are some amazing, amazing bouts. 251 completely stacked. And yeah, there's some filler in there, but okay, I mean, if they're not doing it better than anyone, who is? I don't know. So I'm not here to complain about Fight Island other than it was silly and whatnot. But the promo, it was like, dude, you can just tell, man. Dana says, like, to the media, I don't care what you think. You clearly care. It clearly bothers him. It clearly is a thing that really gets under his skin. It's why certain media members get blackballed. It's why they make promos like this. And of course, it wasn't just the media that he was up against. It was, a series of other forces. But you're right. I mean, whatever the merits of the battle on April 18th, those weren't the battles fought in early May, and they're certainly not the battles being fought now. BC, Matt Frivola got removed from the card on before Saturday, and we're not even talking about it. And the whole thing was related to COVID because they've got, it seems like, now, we never know for 100%, but it seems like they've got, as we said last week, really good safety protocol in place. So
yeah,
no one's hammering them for it.
It seemed like an unnecessary victory lap. That's really what it seemed like.
Yeah.
But look, at the core, we're not having something to talk about on this show unless Dana was that proactive and aggressive and crazy. And some of it is his nature. Some of it is financial. You better believe that. But here we are, and I am glad we are here. I'll deal with a freaking promo video, all right? I'll deal with it, all right?
Very good. I mean,
right?
it's not going to get me to watch or not watch. We're going to be there no matter what.
If Jay keeps chirping at me, by the way, I'm going to bring Uriah Hall on the show, and we'll get him his, we'll it's going to be justice served via spinning back kick.
This life was all I ever wanted.
I'm not leaving. Not yet.
I was hoping you'd say that.
We gotta hit the streets, make some money.
People like us must destroy people like him. Buckle up.
Get Showtime free at Showtime.com.